A lot of people will say movies like Geely, Birdemic, and The Room are the worst movies ever made of all time. You know, that's true. They are pretty awful and not good. Quite, poorly made.
People are very strange these days. I used to know a girl. She had a dozen guys. One of them found out about it, beat her up so bad she ended up in a hospital on Guerrero Street.
What a story, Mark.
But something that I would say is different about these movies versus what I think are bad movies is that these movies are funny bad. And funny bad is enjoyable still. I don't believe The Room is the worst movie ever made. It's bad. The acting is awful. The cinematography is awful too, I guess. And then the green screen effect is really obvious, and everything feels like one location. There's reused footage throughout the film, especially with the sex scene. There's just a bunch of problems with it, but overall, like, in terms of like this versus any student film you might see, I think this, has like pretty decent audio compared to, say, Birdemic, which is a good example of audio you would hear in like people's student films.
Hi.
Here is the menu.
Thank you.
I'll be right back with you.
And then there's also like, movies that are like really big that I love and are really bad. Like, Limitless is a hilarious, so bad that it's good movie, and underrated, so bad that it's good movie, because not a lot of people really realize how funny it is. It has some really wacky editing. Limitless is a movie about a man that gets given a pill that allows him to unlock 100% of his brain, even though that's not how brains work. The human brain does use 100% all the time. It doesn't just use 10%. It's a myth. But the movie premise, nonetheless, is this, and it's really funny. After he takes it, he goes on this he becomes like a new man. But like everyone has their own interpretation of what intelligence is. Like, I don't think there's a flat out, this is what intelligence is and this is what it isn't. We can have a debate about it in that, but it's like not really worth it. But like, just for the sake of the argument, I think we can all agree that intelligence isn't necessarily a man that is now into jogging and now is learning multiple languages. I guess the biggest gripe is that like it's kind of inferring that intelligence is just being really into the stock market, but like the stock market is arguably just rich people gambling. But I guess that will trigger the people that love Wolf of Wall Street. But nonetheless, it's a movie with like very bad editing. I love the effects throughout. I love it was clearly inspired by like Sherlock at the time, because a lot of people were trying to do like the whole text on screen and bullshit and that. Not as bad as Sherlock though. I would say this is more tasteful than Sherlock.
You ain't nothing. Hound.
Overall, I think it's an underrated. It's mostly, there's a lot of boringness in the movie, but overall, I think it's pretty funny, especially when they start talking like business and stuff. I think that shit's really funny. And there's like one scene where like he's talking about like world affairs in some bar and everyone's listening to him, and then like he says something, but I don't think he's really saying anything. I don't understand what he's talking about, and I don't even think it's I'm too stupid to understand this. I think he's just talking nonsense.
Sure, you get a short-term spike, but wouldn't that rapid expansion devalue the stock completely in 2 years?
No, because there are safeguards.
Against aggressive overexpansion? There aren't, because there are no safeguards in human nature. And we're wired to overreach. Look at history, all the countries that ever ruled the world. Portugal with its big, massive navy. All they got now are saw cod and cheap condoms. The Brits, now they're just sitting on their dank little island fussing over their suits. No one's stopping and thinking, hey, we're doing pretty well. We got France, we got Poland, we got a big Swiss bank account. You know what? Let's not invade Russia in the winter. Let's go home, let's pop a beer, and let's live off the interest. Yeah.
No, the worst movies of all time, in my opinion, are mediocre movies. Movies that are so devoid of merit and are so hit right in the middle that they are just boring and are not worth talking about. There are so many movies that I rated between a 5 and a 6 that I don't even remember. And I don't even remember if I've seen them. And I'm going to go through a bunch of the movies that I'm not even sure if I've seen or not. Bob Ross, Happy Accidents and Betrayal and Greed. That's a documentary I barely remember. I remember them shooting parts of like mountains and it actually I remember the beginning being kind of poorly structured, but yeah, very forgettable as well. Almost Famous is a movie I don't remember at all. All I remember is Jimmy Fallon's in it. I was on the Fallon ride in Orlando at Universal. Mars Attacks is a film I don't really remember at all. It is quite mediocre. Light is a forgettable movie. Robert Zemeckis, who Charlie Kaufman kind of made a joke about in I'm Thinking of Ending Things. I can get to 5s. I feel like 5s is where I'm gonna like forget. 5 and 4s, I feel like it's just where I'm not gonna remember I've seen these movies. West Side Story. I tried watching West Side Story, and I got 20 minutes into it before I realized it's not for me, and then just turned it off. I do not remember a single thing from Atomic Blonde. Fallout, I barely remember. I remember the end, but that's it. Like, I think the Fallout's not that great, but Island Chicago 7, barely remember it. Florence Foster Jenkins, I don't remember watching that. Ruben Brandt Collector, I remember the animation pissing me off, but that was bad. Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, all you need to know about that is that it's written by Charlie Kaufman, and Charlie Kaufman's script got fucking bastardized by George Clooney, and there's like interviews from Charlie Kaufman and interviews from George Clooney that like conflict with each other. And to be honest, I personally, in my opinion, believe Charlie Kaufman's side of the story. But that's, I have no evidence. They could be both lying. Ruby Sparks, more like Ruby Shots. 40-Year-Old Virgin. Judd Apatow. What I'm trying to say is, the more average a movie is, the more I don't want to watch it. Like, because what's the point of watching something that's just like a passive experience, just something where things are happening but nothing that is so much happening that you're able to be like, oh, okay, how are you supposed to enjoy a film if you're not getting anything from it other than just things are happening on the screen? And I feel like that is a good example of why I hate Judd Apatow movies, because Judd Apatow makes movies where most of it is just improv, but improv where it's just a block of someone sat very much like me, and then like an alternative shot where they're sat the other side and they're all just reacting to what each other say, as opposed to like any actual comedy happening. Just very bad improv overall in a lot of his movies, and a lot of like, ha ha ha, isn't that funny because that's a celebrity? Trainwreck. Yeah, Trainwreck. Is the whole joke about LeBron James is that it's just LeBron James.
Did you just drive 40 minutes back here to look for your sunglasses?
Yeah, of course. You think I'm gonna give Sunglass Hut another $30 for these? You crazy? Hey, how you doing?
Hi.
Wait, your watch costs more than my apartment.
Oh, this thing? Oh, that was a gift. We're watching Downton Abbey later?
If I get out of here on time, yeah, we could watch it. If not, let's do it tomorrow.
What? Listen, I'm watching it tonight because I'm not gonna go to practice in the morning and all the guys are talking about it and I'm left out.
Well, hey, do what you gotta do.
All right. Can you validate my parking, please?
I mean, Judd Apatow movies are so bland and devoid of any merit that he's actually like, the joke or a punchline in Ain't Kind by Charlie Kaufman. It's very point and shoot. It is the same amount of creativity as what I'm doing right now with my camera. A good comparison would be Woody Allen, but Woody Allen, I would say, sure, he does like a little bit of the same thing where it's just point and shoot. There isn't that much creative going on in terms of like the camera work. I haven't seen all his movies, so maybe there's one that, but the movie I'm thinking of off the top of my head is Midnight in Paris. And at least with Midnight in Paris, like the reason it still works, even though it's very point and shoot and the actual filmmaking isn't like crazy creative, is that the writing is just so good. And the writing is so good that it just doesn't matter. Kind of like the movie The Man from Earth, The Man from Earth is actually a better example, because The Man from Earth is just completely like a TV movie, but the script is so good in The Man from Earth that like all the mediocre filmmaking and TV acting is like okay and forgivable. But back to my point. My point is that like mediocre movies are much worse than bad movies. And that's all I really wanted to say. I just thought that was like, because I've seen a lot of people say that like, oh, these are the worst movies ever made. But I don't agree. I don't think they're the worst movies. I think they're like the most entertaining bad movies ever made. And I think Red Alert Media even said the same thing. Other than that, I think some movies you should check out are Birdemic, The Room, of course, you've probably already seen, and Limitless, just for how funny bad they are. And there's a different range of funny bad. You got the awful but not like the worst, and then like the absolutely like full-on like professional bad. Thank you for watching. This is Dusty Gems, and I hope you subscribe, and I had fun recording this, and I'm gonna have fun editing it. Thank you and goodbye.